You may all have heard that. We believe, are we live streaming or not?
We are officially live.
We are live. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the longer delay than we anticipated. So we will move to the extraordinary meeting of the council. And I don't intend to go through all the protocol stuff again that I went through not very long ago. I don't have any announcements to make. I don't believe there are any apologies. Jane, you wanted to speak.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I was coming in on the declaration, so I'll wait till you say sorry.
Oh, okay. Just going on the, as I believe, we still don't have any apologies. So item 3 was the declaration of interest. Jane, you wanted to speak.
Yes, I just need to, it's in my declaration that I'm the head of retail for life. I'm also on the senior leadership team and we have a business in the town. I do have dealings with gaining grants, so I just need to put that in my declaration.
Okay, thank you. Jill.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Sargent, Jane Sargent has picked up my declarations of interest for Wembrook Community Centre.
Okay, we'll get them sorted out. Are there anyone else have any declarations of interest? Okay.
Yeah, just the fact again that I am not a non-executive director with the Nuneaton and Bedworth Community Enterprise Limited, in case there's anything that involves them.
Councillor Colby.
Thank you, Chair. You've got my disclosable pecuniary interest down as IPT manager, which I am no longer an IPT manager, so that needs removing. I didn't notice it in the last meeting, but I've just checked that.
I'm not sure if who might have picked those up. It would be extremely helpful, please, if each of you who need to look at having your DOIs changed could just send a quick email to Victoria so that we don't miss them. We really need to get them right. So if you could just send a quick email to Victoria if you do have any changes in your declarations of interest, it would be useful, please. Right. Are there any further declarations of interest? Okay, so I will then, we don't believe we have any public speakers on this item. Simone? I've got an item, public speaking. Yeah, I've dealt with Claire, yeah. So agenda item 5 of the special meeting, the notice of motion, additional restriction grant policy proposals. Do we have Councillor Colby, do you need to take your hands down or did you want to speak? Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, I've removed it.
Thank you. Do we have a proposer for the motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That would be myself, Councillor Wilson, as the first signatory to the motion and requisition.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In many respects, I wish I wasn't having to move this motion tonight, as it is a direct result of the impacts of COVID, which we've been living with for far too long, and now, as we would hope, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, I believe someone coined it in the adjournment that we had between council meetings. There has been a significant economic shock to the country, far greater than anything we've experienced, certainly since the Second World War. And unfortunately, Nuneaton and Bedworth is not immune to these economic shocks. We have had 2 lockdowns and we are now in tier 3, which has posed restrictions on many of the things that we can do. But the government has provided funding up to £2.5 million with this additional restrictions grant for local councils as unring-fenced funding to support businesses through these trying times. So as an opposition group, we have listened extremely carefully to those who are in our town centres in particular, as part of what we would term phase one of our recovery packages. And this package, which is before us tonight, is by no means the end of the assistance which we need to provide. It is just a start. Indeed, hundreds of people have signed up online on our website to support this proposal tonight. That includes free car parking in December and January to encourage footfall back into the town centres. At point 2, we are looking at our market rates to try and encourage regular and invoiced market traders into the town centres again. And we have also looked at, in particular, people who own who lease, I should say, council properties in the town centres, as they have been struggling immensely too. And from conversations that I have had with others, unfortunately, they have not necessarily found the council as forthcoming as they would wish when it comes to negotiating packages about assistance that can be provided to those properties in the town centres which are owned by the council. The proposals before us tonight, Madam Mayor, do not cost this council a single penny. It will be fully funded by the additional restrictions grant from the Conservative government. We are coming up to one of the most normally profitable times of the year for market traders and retailers alike. And in the current climate, and with us being in Tier 3, there is even more heightened uncertainty about what the markets and the businesses will be able to attract. We are quite literally looking at, with these proposals, if we reject them tonight, the difference between businesses being able to survive or whether they actually go down. Any other proposal to restrict things like the car parking charges to any particular time will defeat the purpose of this motion. It is to encourage people into our town centres at all times of day. Restricting it to things after 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. completely miss the point of this motion and should be strongly resisted. What should be happening, and I would hope would be a universal vote across the chamber for once, is supporting a rescue package which is fully funded and will make the difference between people being able to trade and people being on having to resort to unemployment and other unfortunate benefits that they may have to claim. This £380,000 isn't just total package, isn't just for Christmas. It takes us through up until February when we reach a new financial, where we can start to look at the new financial year and the new additional burdens that we face. And I would hope in time, Madam Mayor, to be bringing forward other alternative proposals with funding that is left from the additional restrictions grant to help other sectors of our economy. So I would urge all members tonight to unite around our town centres in Nuneaton, Bedworth, and indeed in Bulkington, and actually achieve what our motto of this borough says, united to achieve, and vote these proposals through. If we don't, we are turning our backs on the very people who have stood with us throughout COVID, the market traders and the businesses who have struggled so hard to make ends meet. We should vote this through, Madam Mayor, as a full council united to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor. And if with your agreement. Pardon?
It was Sam, it was yourself. Sorry, Councillor.
With your agreement, Madam Mayor, could I speak to it now?
If you choose to, yes.
Very much. I'm very pleased to support it. The aim of the package is very simple. It's just a rescue plan for our town centres to see them through this immediate economic crisis. Now, the Conservative government has given us the ARG at £2.5 million to support the local economy. And we've already opened that for grants, which is all to the good. But we in the opposition group felt that we need to take proactive steps to get money out the door, as well as just waiting for suggestions from business. So hence this package, which we followed two principles in putting together. Firstly, we've listened to the local traders and the local businesses to find out exactly what they need. That's why we've got the two schemes of rent reduction, a complete rent break for our regular market traders and a rent discount for SME tenants in council properties. It's not about giving handouts. It's about relieving the burdens and reducing the cost of doing business. So our market traders often have very thin margins, and taking away that burden means that they can stay afloat through the Christmas period, and that the markets can continue and hopefully thrive into 2021. And as for the shops, we've given Poundland a rent of £1 for a year for however many years. We can do it to help people. We can reduce the rent to help people in the middle of a crisis, and we've tapered the scheme so that they're not hit by immediate costs at the end of the year. Secondly, Madam Mayor, we've used the rules of economic common sense when looking at this, and it's important to remember that our local economy does not exist in isolation. We have to compete to survive. Already, I think this week, we've seen Warwick District Council have announced free parking for the month of December. So we need to be mindful that we're in a marketplace for destinations for shoppers at what should be the busiest time of year for retail. And we know that car parking stimulates consumer demand and increases footfall, because the reverse is true. Every time we put the fees up, take-up has gone down. Now, it was pointed out to me the other day that great and attractive destination for shopping, Chelmsley Wood, which is not too far from here, has free parking, and the town is always rammed. But we've been putting our charges up, and we've had footfall decline. So free parking means more shoppers. So it's a package designed to stimulate commerce, increase spending, and that's going to create a virtuous circle of economic revival to help see us through. Now, when we drew this up, we didn't know that we'd be in tier 3 and what the tiers meant. So in my view, that makes it all the more urgent, because retail is now open again. But because we haven't got hospitality and food, that might mean that footfall declines. So we need to give shoppers all the encouragement we can to get out there and spend. And we've seen it today. The vaccines are very much on the way. They are imminent. And if we hold our nerve, everything will be all right. But we've also seen the news about Debenhams in the last 24 hours. We've seen the danger of so many businesses going under. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to help our businesses to get there. And the plan is about bridging that gap, giving our businesses they need in this last push, so that when the storm dies down, we've actually got a town centre to come back to, and we've still got a heart for Nuneaton and Bedworth that we can transform in the years to come. So to do that, we've got to get footfall up, and to get customer spending, to get cash flowing around the local economy and keep businesses afloat. And in case anyone thinks we ought to be spending the money on something else, or that helping businesses is a bad thing, I'll translate that. That means saving jobs, keeping people in work, and helping people to pay their household bills. So it's a proactive plan. It's a crisis-busting plan, which isn't being passive. We're not waiting for people to come to us for suggestions. We aren't sitting back and waiting for applications. We're putting forward positive ideas. And as Councillor Wilson has said, it is the first phase in our plan. But there are more funds available. We haven't shot the bolt all at once. And I can assure you, Madam Mayor, if the Conservative group get our way, not a single penny of the ARG is going to get spent back to the Treasury. And now we know that what Tier 3 involves, I, for one, would like to see, for example, support given to the hospitality, the food, the pub trade through the ARG, and I would call on the Cabinet and the administration to do so. And if the administration won't, well, as Councillor Wilson says, we will be submitting a phase 2 to the plan in short order. So, Madam Mayor, this isn't a time for caution. We need to act quickly. We need economic shock and awe. We need some boldness. And we've been given the tools by the government, so let's use them. And I heartily recommend the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Croft, excuse me. Councillor Condacourt.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I really do like the idea of helping the markets out in particular, which is the item B. There's obviously lots of issues around item C on the Conservative amendment, but the one I wanted to amend, and I'm tabled an amendment in the chat, was basically to change recommendation A so that free parking is provided in the town centres every day after 2 p.m. from 2 p.m. on Saturday the 5th of December, until midnight on Sunday the 28th of February. That will only cost £6,000, which is considerably cheaper than the Tories proposal, because it's actually giving free parking at the quieter time of day. And one thing I really am passionate about is we do not increase the rate of COVID in Nuneaton and Bedworth, but we actually get the use of our town centres spread out. Councillor Croft was talking about areas being packed. Well, I want to do the opposite. I want to make us have a busy morning and then have a moderately busy afternoon. And looking at all the figures and all the stuff, afternoon parking is far better bang for your buck, because people who work in town and are coming anyway, you're not giving them an incentive. What you're doing is you're giving an incentive for extra people to come in. So the vast majority of the £20,000 a month cost of free parking afternoons actually generates more footfall, rather than just give people who were going there anyway free parking. It encourages the businesses to open more into the afternoon and maybe into the early evenings as we run up to Christmas. And I also have added in there item D, so that actually when we set the budget in February, we can then look at extending this initially to March, April and May, which is when I think the businesses really need to start to grow and have the support as we get vaccinated. I said this is £200,000 cheaper than the Tory suggestion. Is far more robust in terms of not overheating the town centres at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And we do need to try these things. Yeah, we do need to be bold, but sensibly bold, if that's not a contradiction. A Green suggesting free parking is radical enough, but I don't want to make the virus worse. And I do want to keep our businesses and particularly our market trading. The other thing to bear in mind is in winter, it gets quite dark at 4 o'clock. So actually 2 o'clock gives people a very reasonable amount of time to have an afternoon in Nuneaton or Bedworth. And as the days open up in spring, I hope it will give enough stimulus without actually increasing the rate of infection. I'm really passionate about getting the balance right. And we can't just chuck free money at motorists, many of whom won't live in the borough, and not help everyone else as well. So there's a balance to be had. And I think £20,000 for what is effectively 3 or 4 hours free parking from 2 o'clock sort of does that balance. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I hope I find a seconder for my recommendations.
Your amendment is there written for everybody on chat, which I don't intend to read out. And is there a seconder for Councillor Condacor's proposal amendment? Sorry. I'm not hearing a seconder at the moment. I'm moving back into participants. No, there doesn't seem to be a seconder for Councillor Condacor's amendment, so the amendment falls. So I'll move back to the proposal as made by Councillor Wilson. Councillor Evans.
Right. Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased that the amendment didn't find a seconder, because I think that would have defeated what we're trying to achieve here. What we're trying to achieve is a plan for businesses to survive over the forthcoming months. And I want to speak about why I believe this would be beneficial to Bedworth Town Centre. Councillor Croft, I think, used the word competition or competing with other authorities, and he's absolutely right. We are in a position where Warwick District Council has this week announced free parking during December. I believe Stratford-upon-Avon is also doing the same. And of course, you also have North Warwickshire Borough Council that always provides free parking regardless of the time of year. And what we need to have in place is an offer to our residents. We need them to come into the town centre subject to coronavirus restrictions, and we don't want them to go elsewhere, because we want businesses in the borough to get through this pandemic, and we want them to survive. And I think the proposal in this plan for rent reductions for market traders will be warmly welcomed by a number of market traders in Bedworth, and I suspect that's the same for Nuneaton as well. I absolutely believe in this. I believe in less regulation. I believe in fewer fees where possible. I think this should receive unanimous support, and we need to get it implemented as soon as physically possible. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Brown. Before you speak, Councillor Brown, could I remind members to take their hands down when they've spoken, please? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You'll notice I've lowered my hand. Thank you for inviting me to speak on this. Councillor Croft made some really eloquent points, as did Councillor Wilson when introducing this motion. But essentially, we're in a situation where town centres across the country, their struggles have been made worse because of COVID-19. And our town centres, quite frankly, were struggling before COVID-19. All the more so when you look at other local towns like Tamworth, Atherstone, Hinckley, that were, by comparison, thriving. The proposal that's in front of us offers a much needed stimulus to local businesses as we head towards Christmas, in an attempt to help them survive the Christmas period and until the vaccine can start to affect more and more people, and we can start to lift the restrictions locally and nationally. And it really is a case of, in the words of an advert, every little helps. It makes shopping locally easier. It makes it a little bit more cost effective, a little bit more desirable. It helps people that live in this area support local businesses. Here in Bedworth, I mean, we face competition not only from other local centres, but also free parking at the Rico, for example. We've got a transformation programme on the horizon, and we've seen lots of talk in the media about that. And this is really a way of helping the businesses that are in our towns get to the point where there's something to transform. If we don't do anything, we may be in a position where there's little left in the town centres to actually transform. Most of the people in Bedworth shop during the earlier part of the day and go at the town centre anyway. But so allowing them to choose at what time of the day they wish to go into town gives them the broadest spectrum. And realistically, we want to attract people from elsewhere into our town. Goodness knows, enough of our people go elsewhere to shop. So, contrary to the amendment that I'm pleased didn't find a seconder, this isn't so much more bang for your buck. I mean, that amendment was more a case of firing blanks and pretending to help rather than actually providing any real help. This is a really good proposal. Businesses support it. Market traders support it. We support it. The answer is, will we find cross-party support on this? Will the controlling group support it? I sincerely hope so. As has been said, our borough motto is "United to Achieve." To do anything, to vote for anything else on this would be to vote against local businesses, and to do anything else would literally change our motto to something like "United to Deceive," if we were to pretend and talk the talk of supporting businesses, but not actually walk the walk and put this package into place. So I really do hope it finds cross-party support, because it's well-intentioned. It's not going to cost the council a penny, and as has been said, this isn't the end. This is just the first shot. You know, it's not even the end of the beginning. It's not the beginning of the end, as was once said. It's actually the beginning of the beginning. Let's put this in place. Let's make life a bit easier for the businesses in town. Make it easier for people to choose when they want to go in to shop. Make it easier for them to shop locally in our town centre rather than go somewhere else. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Madam Mayor, I was making sure I put my hand down. Madam Mayor, the additional restrictions grant policy as written currently allows all eligible businesses to apply for grants. So I'm going to take each of the proposals in this motion in turn. So section A, the free parking proposal. I have to say I was in Nuneaton town centre this morning and I don't think there was any lack of people in the town centre when parking we were still charging for. I think, though, we can be more imaginative, and I think Councillor Kondaka's reflection to a design to spread footfall along a much wider number of hours in the day is well meant, particularly in times of COVID. And whatever we think, it is good news that there appear to be vaccines coming out, but the reality is it will be several more months before significant proportions of our communities are vaccinated. And so therefore, as a caring council that is balancing economic regeneration and public health, I think we have to take a sensible approach to that. In regard to item B and giving market traders reduced rents, each market trader, as I understand it, can apply already to the additional restrictions grant policy and receive monies of just over £1,300. What the Conservatives seem to be proposing, that is, they can have their rent free and also apply for the £1,300, which I think is at odds with what is being fair to everybody. And then I come on to item C, Madam Mayor. This is to give free rent, but only to council tenants. That to me is absolutely unfair on other businesses in our town centres who have private landlords who may have been far more affected, for all we know, by the economic implications of COVID. Some council premises will not have ceased trading through this period. For example, chemists, takeaways and other shops, and yet we're giving them rent-free. What about perhaps premises next door to them, hairdressers, beauty parlours, etc., who have been dreadfully hit by this? So we're saying, yeah, we'll look after our own tenants. I don't think it's morally fair at all to look after one specific group of people and not after others. The policy as written is fair to all. It means that everyone who is eligible can apply for this grant. And again, it would appear that the Conservative proposals tonight are saying we give our own tenants this grant, but actually they're not revoking their opportunity to apply yet again for more grant. 2 bites of the cherry for council tenants and only 1 bite for private tenants seems to me something I can't morally justify. So, Madam Mayor, I'm going to put in the chat function an amendment that I wish to make in this regard. In essence, Madam Mayor, the amendment I wish to move removes words and adds words so that it would read that this council requests Cabinet look again at the additional restrictions grant policy to see whether periods of free parking may be possible once we have emerged from tier 3. And in saying that, I think this is sensible. One of the councillors tonight talked about free parking in Warwick. Well, actually, if you travel to Warwick, it'll cost you more in petrol or diesel or electric than it would to actually offset the parking being free. I think some of the comments aren't in tune with the reality of the situation we are in. This is a genuine ask to Cabinet to relook again at whether we can, in a way that does a good balance between the requirements for public health in the midst of COVID-19, whilst also understanding that there have been incredibly difficult circumstances for our business community. We want to support. I believe that is what the additional restrictions grant is doing. As I say, market traders can apply for £1,300, and so too can the rest of the business community who qualify. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Is there a seconder for Councillor Jackson's amendment, please?
Councillor Lloyd, Madam Mayor, I'll second it.
Thank you. Right. So we will now move to discussing the amendment. But before we do, I do have a list of the people who have their hands up to speak to the proposal, that being Councillors Walmsley, Longdon, Jane Sargent, Andy Sargent, Golby and Tromans. I have taken a note of all of those names, and I would be grateful now, because we're moving to speak to the amendment, if you could please take your hands down now, and then when we move back to the proposal, I will make sure that all of those names are called again. So it's just so that there is absolutely no confusion. If anyone wants to take, if I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 hands still left up, can I just assume that you all want to speak to the amendment? Pardon? Oh, sorry. Let's have a look. Doesn't the amendment negate the original motion? Well, I wouldn't have thought, personally, I wouldn't have thought so, because it's a totally different amendment to the proposal. I will take advice.
Madam Mayor, may I speak to that on my point of order?
Yes, go on then. Although I'm not sure it's correct, but I'll let.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I think you've just made the point for me. You have just said that you believe that it completely removes the substance of the original motion, and therefore it would negate the purpose and intent of what is behind the wording of the motion. Surely the ability to amend the policy is within the Cabinet's gift anyway, and that's within her gift as leader. If she wishes to object to the proposal, then surely the right way to do that in this instance would be to vote against and not try and flower it up in some kind of camouflage. But if you disagree with it, vote against the original motion.
I'm afraid, Councillor Wilson, I don't agree with you, because anyone can move an amendment to a proposal. It has different wording, it has different meaning, and I really don't think it negates the original proposal, because it is different to the original proposal. It isn't a question of just voting for or against. It is a different proposal as an amendment. I will ask advice from Mr. Richard.
to leave out words, which it does, to leave out words and have others, or to insert or add other words.
Right, I am aware of all the comments in the chat and what people are saying, and second one from Councillor Condacore, and I am of the view that this does not negate the motion because the wording is different and the purpose of the amendment, is different to the proposal. So I am going to allow the amendment. So moving back to the participants who wanted to speak to the amendment. Councillor Evans.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me okay? Because I've had to change my my headphone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. You're right. Yes, I would like to speak against the amendment. I think it was Gerald Kaufman, who was MP for Manchester Gorton, who described the Labour Party's manifesto in 1983 as the longest suicide note in history. And the amendment that's been tabled by Councillor Jackson is really bad, and I just don't think you quite understand how bad it is in the eyes of residents in this borough. A part of me is not shocked, I'm not disappointed, I'm not annoyed, but what I am is I'm actually quite upset that Councillor Jackson has moved this, because I know of some businesses that needed this package to get through Christmas, and as a result of Councillor Jackson's proposal tonight, they might not get through, and that's another business that's moving out of the borough thanks to this, incompetent left-wing socialist council that is, very much backing big businesses and won't support our SMEs, which employ local residents. The amendment is just trying to brush the issue under a carpet. I've got no faith whatsoever that the cabinet would actually look at free parking after tier 3. And Councillor Jackson talks about morals. Well, I'm really sorry, Councillor Jackson, but as the leader of a political group on this council who voted against Councillor Golby's recent recommendation regarding disabled toilets and adult changing places and things like that, sorry, that just doesn't wash with me, Councillor Jackson. It might do with a few of your members, possibly not some of your more disgruntled members, but I think the vast majority of the public, when they see this, well, good luck in May. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Tromans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we do need to refer to this amendment as an amendment and consider for a moment your ruling. I don't wish to argue with it. The video is explicit. You were explicit. You were very clear that it is very different and has a very different outcome to the original motion. Therefore, it negates it. That's literally what it means. It's not a subjective matter. It's an objective matter. And that's going to be there for all to see. And I think it's worth us all just reflecting for a moment on the number of times this kind of thing happens, and the fact that it's all on video, and we have very long memories. And there will always be, for public bodies, consequences for actions that are wrong, and deliberately so. To move to the motion itself, I could scarcely believe that Councillor Jackson had got the nerve to put that on there. The council requests that Cabinet look again. Nuneaton and Bedworth Labour Cabinet. Experts in retail, they are not. You only have to look at our town centres and the decline that they presided over. And bereft of ideas though they are, they've come up with nothing before now, and the crisis has been going on for ages, and government money has been there. We've come forward as the opposition to fill that vacuum, to put forward very sensible proposals to help businesses to do something. And all the Labour group can say is, we might go away and think about it some more, but no promises. It beggars belief. I mean, Councillor Evans was quite right when he started to talk about political suicide. I think, the next elections can't come soon enough. There isn't much to be said. Quite clearly, Councillor Jackson has painted the picture for all the world to see. The Labour group will be voting against our positive proposals to do something right now using government funding that's been made available to save businesses and help the town, to give it a real boost, our town centres, real shot in the arms for them. And what do you want to do? Request the Cabinet look again at some point in the future. Says it all. Thank you.
Councillor Walmsley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's probably a good job we don't have trading standards in this evening, so I think they'll have something to say about the motion. Look again at free parking. To my knowledge, the Cabinet certainly during this pandemic has not looked at all at free parking. So let's have some merit to this debate. But let's be clear. I think, as Councillor Evans alluded to, hopefully this will go down in our history in the same way the note from Liam Byrne did at the Treasury. Sorry, there's no money left. Good luck. I suspect this is going to be the same sort of note that'll go down in the same sort of history. I think it's appalling that this I say amendment as a laugh, as a joke, really. This kick the can down the road, do nothing piece of tosh that we're expected to vote on now is just appalling. Once again, I mean, this Labour Council has track record of returning grants to government for not spending them. And I wonder, is that what they're looking to do here again? But they don't want to be open and upfront and honest with the public. So actually, to the public who are listening and watching this, I apologise on behalf of this council, because as Councillor Croft says, this amendment does nothing compared to the original motion by my colleagues. This amendment does nothing to save jobs. This amendment does nothing to helping people stay in work. And this amendment does nothing to helping people pay their bills. Frankly, I expected more, a lot more of this council. Once again, and actually I welcome for a change, we have unring-fenced money from the government that actually council's not blocking us from spending how we like as they do with the new homes bonus. We're actually going to be spending this in a way which is going to stimulate the economy. How we can talk about morality, how Councillor Jackson can talk about morality when she signed off on a £1 a year rent for Poundland for their second store, but will not now sign off on a package of money from the government, unring-fenced, to support small local businesses. That she will not look to use that money in a, and this is part A, this is a small portion of that money, that she will not look to use a small portion of this money to help those who need the help the most. That is what this local authority should be doing, because failing to do so is failing to secure jobs. It's failing to help people stay in work, and it's failing to help people pay their bills. And there will be long memories, I can assure you, because this is another kick it down the road, can down the road, let's do nothing motion. And I think the public already can see through them. The public are sick of them. They want change. They want real change. They want people in there with vision, ambition, and aspiration. They don't want someone whose literal motion is, well, look at this when tier 3's over. What if tier 3's not over? What if in the extension, in the review in a few weeks, we return in tier 3? What are we going to do then? Just go, oh, kick it down the road again. At the very time when our businesses make most of their money in the November, December and January is what carries them through the tough time of the March, April, through till May, through till the summer when business starts to pick up again. We speak to businesses, we know that. We ask businesses what they want. We support them. We listen. We engage and we attempt to act. But sadly, this amendment doesn't do any of that. It blocks. It blocks. And I think it's been said before, you know, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. I'm bitterly disappointed on something that really should not have any reason not to have cross-party support. And to come out as comments as some done from both the Labour Party and the Green Party, you know, that they are that effectively they're anti-motorist. Well, I'm not. I'm pro-motorist, because to be pro-motorist is to be pro our residents. So I'm pro our businesses that employ people, that help people to stay people in job and be able to help them pay their bills. I'm pro-motorist because to be pro-motorist is to be pro our residents. If you don't support those, well, the public can join their own minds on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 8 more speakers down to speak, followed by Councillor Lloyd, who has reserved his right to speak, and Councillor Jackson, who is the mover of the proposal. I have a point of order in accused. Sorry, my screen has just gone out. You what, do? My screen's gone off. I've got nothing. Oh, right, yeah. But I don't know quite what to do to get it back.
You're still there, Jim. I can see you.
Okay, I've got it. It's come back. It's come back. I don't know what happened.
Madam Mayor, can I just point out I've put my hand up. John Beaumont.
I've got you. Obviously, there was something wrong with my my machine. It just gave up on me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 speakers, plus the seconder, plus the mover, and then I intend to move to the vote on the amendment. My next speaker is Councillor Pomfret.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, this amendment means that all businesses, whoever their landlord is, and wherever their business is, have equal access over 2 years, as intended by the government, I think. Well, if that's socialism, there you are. Whether they're in St Nick's or Heath or any ward not in the town centre, not a council landlord and not market traders, they will all have equal access. Well, that's socialism for you. But mainly I'm interested in parking. We've had a lot of talk about an inducement this evening to do the wrong thing. Parking. Well, most people, if they can, are, as advised, staying at home. You know, don't make unnecessary journeys. Shop locally in your town or district centres. Do 1 or 2 shops instead of 5 or 6. Well, these people, the majority, won't be benefiting too much from this £250,000 inducement. What is being said is, don't take too much notice of government guidelines and we will use public money to subsidise you. Parking charges should be relieved, but when COVID is well on the retreat and when travel is not being discouraged and others are more open to coming to the borough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pomfret. I'm just looking down the list and I understand, Councillor Wilson, you can't actually speak on the amendment because you were the proposer of the original one, but you do have a right of reply on the amendment. So I will need to move you toward the end of the meeting, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Condacore.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm quite disturbed that we don't have votes with this amendment on the other parts of the Conservatives' proposals. The amendment might or might not do what I want in terms of afternoon free parking, but it totally deletes the great idea of supporting our market, which I've been passionate about for, well, a decade. And our market draws in traffic and shoppers to all the footfall, to all the other businesses. So I'm really disappointed that the Labour amendment doesn't even save the very reasonably priced help for the markets. £55,000 to help to the markets, and that would have probably brought in £55,000 of more parking revenue in the mornings. So I do hope if this Labour amendment does get passed, they actually do look more at market support, because we've got the money for it. The markets are one of our unique things as a borough. Other places do not have the markets like we have. And so I really ask that the Cabinet, when it meets next Wednesday, looks at urgently doing some measures to encourage parking in the quiet periods, and also looks at the market issue, which their amendment deletes. I'm also passionate that we do not get more deaths in Warwickshire. We've probably had 100 deaths from COVID in the last month, something like that. You have to wait till all the figures come in. And it's really important that we spread out the flow of people into our towns and actually almost sell our afternoons as come in the afternoon, it's less busy. Yeah, we need to be the right busyness. We need, and a lot of the smaller shops will have limits on how many people can go into each of the shops, which is why I hope next Wednesday the Conservative group, so the Labour group, will approve some afternoon parking as part of this change, and we'll do it in a way that's actually spreading out the demand into our town centres. There's no point in giving free parking if there's no parking spaces available as well, which is why I think the Cabinet does need to look at the parking data and look at when there's actually offering free parking make a positive difference to businesses because there are empty parking spaces and the shops aren't too busy. So I can't support the Labour amendment because it doesn't support them. And I do ask that they look carefully at this next Wednesday at the Cabinet meeting and seriously look at giving some active support to businesses that will last a year, because it's a 2-month problem. We regenerate trade in town centres. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Condacourt. Councillor Golby.
Well, let's start with. Yeah, mighty fine high horse you're all trotting around on there. The Labour group, that is. Honestly, no one seems to realise though that it's the horse that that bolted, and you've been trying to shut the stable door ever since. I mean, it's actually bolted and in the knackers yard now, but you just don't get it, do you? You don't get it. The only thing I can actually equate the motion that you've put in front of us is this is your Gerald Ratner moment. This really is. This is your Gerald Ratner in business moment, where he stood on the platform and said, all our stuff's crap. And they absolutely tanked. You know, Liam Byrne, there's no money left. This is literally that moment. For this Labour Council. I don't think you have got any right whatsoever to claim the moral high ground on this, because you will not install toilet facilities for our most vulnerable residents in our town centres to allow them to shop. You have no morals on this whatsoever. You have allowed Poundland to have a £1 rent for a significant amount of time. Last year, Poundland published their accounts and they had a revenue of £811 million. And you will not fund our market traders who are living hand to mouth, because they may then apply for another loan, which they are fully entitled to do, and get 1,300 quid. Are you actually on this planet? Honestly, shocking. And you are rapidly losing support. So again, I just need to say that when we look at you know, I went into town today. It was busy. It was great, actually. It was lovely to get out and see faces, albeit with masks on. But I heard so many people talking to the market traders and actually welcoming them back because they had been so sorely missed. There were people who had said, I heard one lady say to several market traders actually, that she felt like tumbleweed in the town centre because she'd been rattling around and there'd been nobody there. And it was so nice for her to see all these things back in again. This is an economic stimulus package for those people, and it's also probably going to be the one thing that can help them get through this time. It's something we can do now for our residents and our small businesses. Please don't start saying about equality when you've allowed Poundland for years and years to pay £1 rent. You have negated any claim to being fair in that about hairdressers or small businesses who might be next door. When you've been paying out, you've been allowing Poundland to pay £1 rent. That negates any sort of argument you have on that score. And the parking, free parking, it's an economic stimulus package. So it's actually discretionary business support, and free parking supports our businesses. We are surrounded by towns that give free parking, that are going to do free parking, that already do free parking. We've got Ventura up the road, we've got Warwick that are doing it, we've got other councils that are doing it. We are in direct competition with these people. We also have 66,000 car owners. According to the vehicle licensing data of 2018-2019, we have approximately 66,000 cars in our borough. So that free parking helps every single person, every single one of those 66,000 car owners. That helps us to help them. We can do this now, not in a couple of weeks when you've decided to mull it over in cabinet and then put your own spin on it and claim that you're helping the town out. You can do that now. You can do it now. There is absolutely no need to put this back to Cabinet, because you're just going to waffle about it and it's going to be useless anyway. So 66,000 cars. Now, there was an issue raised about people who have already paid for their long-term parking. Well, there's 571 of those people. That's the only number I can find provided by council officers of people who have long-term parking passes. They can actually hand that parking pass back and get a refund, and then reapply for the parking pass when the free parking's over. So on the basis of either helping 66,000 people or not helping anybody because of 571 people, we went for the balance of 66,000. You lot have just actually turned your nose up at 66,000 people in this borough. Just let that sink in. Every single person who has a car, you've just basically stuck two fingers up to and said, go and spend your money elsewhere, which has an impact on our small businesses. It has an impact on their supply chains, which are usually small businesses, supply small businesses. You are absolutely clueless in business. You should not be anywhere near this decision. You should have just walked away and voted for our motion. You are an absolute disgrace.
Thank you, Councillor Golby. Councillor Croft.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, you'll not be surprised to learn that I'm against this, because it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, as Councillor Walmsley quoted me. It replaces a proactive, positive policy with nothing, with a shadow of a promise. We can do this now. It is ready to go now. And the opposition have done the work for the council. I think the poor guys in finance must have been very annoyed that I kept badgering them for the figures a few weeks ago. And if Councillor Jackson didn't like the idea, she could have voted against it, or she could have waited till it got to Cabinet, because the motion is written under the council rules that it is requesting Cabinet anyway. So she has tried to amend this motion to, rather than requesting Cabinet to do a specific set of policies that are going to help people, to sort of have a think about it. Now, Madam Mayor, on a couple of the points that she specifically raised, on point C, where Councillor Jackson said that it was unfair, it doesn't preclude private sector businesses applying for rent reductions under the additional restrictions grant. It doesn't preclude them. It's just that because we're the landlord, it's a direct lever of fiscal policy that we can use. It's a stimulus package. It's pump priming. It's designed to get money out the door as quickly as possible to give immediate help. And it's deliberately done by application, because we know that, I think McDonald's rents from the council, don't they? So they're not going to need it. But it's the small businesses in Bedworth and in Nuneaton town centre, the small cafes, the small hairdressers that need the help. And Madam Mayor, I have to say, as Councillor Golby said, this is a thing to do now, because if we dilly-dally, if we drag our heels, there might not be a town centre to come back to after Christmas. It is designed as support. Madam Mayor, and I have to say, I mean, it's already been alluded to, but any councillor who votes against this package, which we've had the survey results in, has got overwhelming support, they will bear the mark in public opinion. They really will. I mean, this administration, we've known it for years, but they're going to leave a business graveyard behind. They are going to leave economic archaeology in their wake by rejecting this sort of thing. And when people go and do the work for them and offer actual positive help that doesn't cost the council any extra money, they turn it down. So, Madam Mayor, I would urge all members to reject and utterly reject this gnarlish, dodging the issue attempt at a fudge. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. Councillor Longdon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I really respond to threats, and we've had them all tonight, haven't we? Goodness me. I think just about every speaker on the other side has been threatening us with something, but they're not thinking in any sort of terms where it's logical. and it's fair. What they're trying to do is just go for political nicety and look at us, aren't we doing well? But when you're not doing well. Today, the Prime Minister, when he's making his big statement on having a vaccine, he actually said that we need to be very, very careful and we need to be patient. And what was it? Hands, face, space. Continue. And that's going to go on until well into the new year. So is it right at this time to actually say the town centre's free, come and park, get everybody in the town centre, let's spread the virus, let's go on and just hope that people don't die? Because that's one of the possible effects of that. If you get massive crowds in the town, then the chances are that other people are going to go down with it. And then you're going to put the hospitals under pressure and everything else that goes with it. It's just waiting for a little while longer to make sure that people are pretty safe when they come into the town centres. And that's all the amendment, well, it's not even doing that, the amendment. The amendment is saying let's look at something more sensible and something more fair. If we actually mentioned that Nuneaton and Bedworth housing tenants could have a rent reduction because they've been made unemployed or they're furloughed or whatever, but that wouldn't apply to private housing tenants, the opposition party would be up in the wall. They'd be going up the wall about it and screaming and shouting. Unfairness and all the rest of it, looking after your own, barley bar, all the rest of it. And it's terrible that they should actually do that. And today we see Tesco's having to repay £585 million that they had in grant money. And somebody made a right mess of that, didn't they? Because Tesco's been trading all the way through. So why they were giving it in the first place, nobody knows. And of course, the Debenhams announcement, now we've got another shop gone in the town, many shops within the shop. So that's going to be another problem. Will people want to come into the town if there's no shops open? And that's another problem, because which shops are going to be open or which shops are going to be allowed to be open? Many people want the hospitality industry opening up, but the government is saying no. So until such time as the government let us open up these things, we can't do anything about it. We can't. On your second tranche that you're talking about, you want to look at these things, well, you won't be able to, because the government won't allow it. It depends what the figures are and what the numbers are and what's going on within COVID. So it's better. It is a lot better. I do have sympathy with some of the traders, I must admit, but this is not fair on what you're doing, and it's certainly just political posturing in terms of what you're getting at. And this amendment will help level that playing field, and hopefully the Cabinet will come back with something that's far, far fairer and better. And nobody needs to miss out, because as the leader has said, anybody can apply, whether they're in the private sector or whether they're in the public sector. So we need to have a look at what's going on, and we need to have a look quickly, I suppose, in order to help people if they do need it. But if they do need it, it's there anyway, and it's in their gift to actually apply. That's the main thing. You should just tell them to apply. You didn't have to wait for handouts from us. All they need to do is apply, and if they qualify, they'll get the money, and they'll probably get more money from that process than we can give them. So I'm totally in favour of the proposition amendment and against the main proposition. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor London. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the viewers and listeners out there, welcome back to the land of sanity after the disparate ramblings from the voice of Venezuela we've just heard. I'm disappointed but not surprised at this amendment. We had a clearly politically motivated decision that the amendment was legitimate, when all it does is serve to completely negate the effects of the original motion. The original motion committed the council, the cabinet, to look at doing specific things in terms of parking, rent reductions for the market, and helping local businesses. The amendment absolutely undoes 2/3 of that, and on the point of parking, it looks at perhaps considering some reduction at some point in the future when Tier 3 may be lifted. It utterly destroys and negates the original motion, and it shouldn't have been allowed, but we are where we are. I mean, I come from a family where my grandfather ran successful business, my father ran successful business, my brother runs a very successful business on a number of sites, and I've often wished that he would have a site in this borough. But today, I thank God that he hasn't, with this council in charge of things, because he wouldn't be able to trade in these sort of circumstances. What we have to remember, and contrary to what Councillor Longdon said, this is not about the Conservative group. This is not about us. This is about businesses in our town centres and trading and surviving COVID-19. It's not a be-all and end-all package. It's an initial step down the road to helping businesses, helping get people into town centres. It doesn't commit them to behaving in a way that doesn't expect them to observe social distancing and behave correctly. Right? It just helps people get into our town centre instead of going somewhere else to do their shopping. It makes life a little bit easier. As I said in supporting the original motion, it's a case of every little helps. Well, this amendment certainly scores quite well on the little, but it actually does bugger all on the helps. And I apologise for swearing. I withdraw the swear word. It does nothing to help. It's been said, a vote against the original motion was a vote against local businesses. This amendment does nothing for local businesses, and I certainly cannot support it. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Councillor Evans mentioned the longest suicide note in history. Well, this just feels like it's kicking the can down the road, delaying making a decision, and it's not even as if it's costing the council any money. This is unring-fenced money that's being given to the council by the government to spend on things that will help locally. It's not. There's no specifics about what it has to be spent on. We've investigated the costs. We've put together the ideas. The work is done for you. All you have to do is consider it and implement it. But instead, no. For political reasons, it appears that you've just decided to change it, to say, put two fingers up to local businesses, to make life as difficult as possible for shoppers, and quite frankly, to encourage them to go to the Rico, to go to Atherstone, to go to Tamworth, basically go anywhere. Chelmsley Wood, for God's sake, even. Yeah. So please, I would just say I'm certainly not supporting this, and I think it's an absolute disgrace that it's being put to this council on this night. It just feels like the dying breath of a fag-end council that ran out of ideas a decade ago and has been clinging on a life support machine. And the sooner that it's put out of its misery, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. There is a point of order from Councillor Longdon. And he is saying that Councillor Brown has just levelled a very personal insult at me and should apologise. If not, he can explain it to standards. Okay.
Interpersonal explanation, Madam Mayor. I'll type it in the chat for you.
Madam Mayor, that doesn't really satisfy it, but if he wants to make all these allegations like he did, and welcome back to the land of the living and all the rest of it, and Venezuela, I don't know the exact words, I'll have to look at the recording, but I will take him to standards if he's going to continue along those lines and behave like that.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Evans. Lost place on speakers. Councillor Phillips, I have 1, 2, 3 more speakers. Councillor Lloyd will reserve his right to speak, and then Councillor Wilson will wind up the debate. Thank you. Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I've listened to the debate. I can see the benefits of doing X, Y, and Z. I can't agree with the motion as it's put at the present moment in time because there isn't enough detail in it. What is a town centre? As Abbey Councillor, where does the town centre end? If there's a council property that is close to the Ritz or in Queen's Road or Abbey Street, if you cross the ring road, is that classed as outside the town centre? I'm also disturbed about the private-public thing here. Yes, it would be great to help, and I'm sure we as a council working with government are doing all we possibly can with the restricted grants or whatever to benefit all businesses. But what about out of Borough? You know, they have many shops there. Are we saying that if they're owned by the Borough Council, that they will have more benefits than other shops in Attleborough because they're outside the town centre? Or don't any shops in Attleborough count as the town centre? The same in Stockingford area. The idea to help all businesses is non-political from my point of view. It's a case of the finer points of doing this, Chair. And as for sort of poundland that gets thrown in our face all the while, we had a phase whereby that place could have been completely empty, hard to fill, and a pound rent sounds, oh yeah, I totally agree. It sounds sort of, oh, that's on the cheap, that is. And it is on the cheap. But then again, the place was filled, employed people, and also we got rent and rates from it, you know, which might have been worth about £200,000 a year. Don't quote me on that. But it was filling a space and employing people, and it was a deal that everyone sort of says, well, they're getting their rent for £1. Well, okay. You look at the town centres now, and it could be said that it would be better to have a rent of £1 and have the rateable value paid and people employed than not. So Poundland always gives me a bit of angst. You know, that's all basically I've got to say, Chair. Where are town centres? What is fair to small businesses outside of town centres? That's it, Chair, really. Basically, I can't support, well, I will support the amendment because further work needs to be done.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Hancock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Condicle was actually quite right to raise the concerns about how we managed to help stop the increase in deaths that we've seen in our local areas. And I despair sometimes, Madam Mayor, when we should all be working together at a time of serious threat to the health of our residents, when it's absolutely clear, Madam Mayor, that this is nothing but a political stunt on behalf of the Conservatives. We know it will go on and it will go on. So the amendment, I believe, Madam... Sorry, there's people's cameras popping up, Madam Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, the amendment at least goes some way of us giving it proper discussion. And I say that because well, I guess we'll be accused of all sorts, but there's no doubt there's a large degree of inequality here. And everybody in the borough will certainly need a boost. once we eventually get out of this present crisis. And what this does, yes, it targets town centre businesses, but only some of them. But also what it does, Madam Mayor, is it ignores all of our communities as well. And I want to thank all those shops in our communities where people have had to rely on them because they've not been able to go to the town or they've been scared to go into the town. Those community shops have really stepped up to the plate. And this, in effect, Madam Mayor, punishes them. And, so that can't be right. If you look in my ward covers the town centre, so I like to think I do understand something about it. But also, if you look at like our community shops in Park Road and the rower shops in Pine Tree Road, they are barred from this in effect. And I've got to say, Madam Mayor, because there's things been bandied about what's been said by previous people, but let's not forget our budgets have been cut by 60% by the Conservative government, and yet now we're being asked to put further risk to the budget, and that's clearly what it is. I understand the thing about the unring-fenced cash, but I repeat, Madam Mayor, this is nothing but a political stunt, and I'll be sort of supporting the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. I did say earlier that I was taking no more speakers, so Councillor Lloyd, would you reserved your right to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just trying to get the camera on. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate our officers. Our officers in the Finance Department have worked extremely hard in very difficult circumstances to late hours of the night, early hours of the morning in some occasions, to work up schemes that our traders within our town centres and district centres and other areas of the borough, may not be a district centre, it could just be a road with a small shop in, can actually claim between £1,300 and £3,000. The schemes are already there. There is no need for this meeting tonight, no need whatsoever. It's correct. The only thing I can think is it is a political stunt. The existing scheme is fair to all. It doesn't single out any individuals. It is fair to everybody, whether you're in the town centre, whether you're in a district centre, or whether you're on a back street, just a small shopping area on a back street. It's irrespective. It's fair to everybody. Markets can already access that money. So it's already happening. They can get their hands on that money. So there is no need for this council meeting tonight. Let's don't forget our district centres and our little backseat shops, for the likes of me, have been essential. Because some people can't go up to the main shops where they can send a neighbour or a relative down to the local shop. So they all need help. We're in very, very difficult times. We all know that. And this scheme needs to be fair to everybody. It needs to be able to try and help all businesses out of the hole that they're in at the moment. The funding has to be for all. And the money has to last for 2 years.
Could you go back a couple of sentences? We lost your words.
I'll try. As I say, the markets can already access this money through the schemes that are in place. They can get between £1,300 and £3,000 from the schemes that are in place. Don't forget the district centres. The district centres are essential for people, that cannot get to the main shops in the town or just need to send a neighbour down to the local shop. the money has to last for 2 years. So it is all in place, and that's why I say this is just spin. That's all it is. It's just troublemaking. And, you know, I would have thought that we wouldn't be playing politics with people's livelihoods like this, you know, and we would all work together rather than try and score political points. And it is political points. I had a lady contact me today who was furious about the press release that she's seen on, I think it was Facebook, the Conservative press release. And she says, why is council shops getting all the money and we can't get none? And I says, that's not true. I had to explain it wasn't true, that the scheme's already there and she can claim for that for those monies. As I say, you know, you've got Councillor Brown uses, well, language that I wouldn't use, and says united to deceive. Well, you're right, you are. You are united to deceive, Councillor Brown, because if you go onto your website, Conservative website, and you go into the article where they're asking people's views, you have to go through 3 pages of how did you vote last year, how did you vote this, how would you vote, before you even get to it. So, you know, I'm not surprising you haven't got many people that have actually filled your forms in online. And I'm not surprising that on Facebook, when I looked, you got numerous people actually having a go at you for doing exactly what you're doing. You know, if you're so concerned about money, you wouldn't be wasting it holding this meeting to discuss a scheme that you're saying you're introducing that's already in and already available for people to claim against. I'm not going to harp on, as I say, I don't want to play politics. There's enough problems within our communities and within our town centres without taking chunks out of each other. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say there's people's livelihoods that are at stake here, and we shouldn't be playing politics with it. And, you know, the scheme's there and they can claim between £1,300 and £3,000. So, you know, this meeting is a total waste of taxpayers' money. They're already able to claim it. You're just playing politics. I'll leave it at that, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, you can wind up this debate and then I will be moving to the vote.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Well, I'll pick up where Councillor Lloyd left off, because yet again, he is barefaced lying to the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. The very first question on the website is, do you support our policies? Do you know how I know that, Councillor Lloyd? Because I wrote it. So if you're going to mislead people, at least don't try and mislead me, who actually wrote it. Playing politics, yes, the only people playing politics tonight are the party opposite, because they are cowards, pure and simple. They just can't bring themselves to vote for a Conservative proposal that actually has action, whereas all they can promise is words. And when I heard Councillor Jackson's proposals tonight, I was angry, and I'll tell you why I was angry. Because Labour are supposed to be the party of the working man and woman, and yet their inaction tonight is likely to put people whose jobs are at risk even further into risk by refusing to take action tonight. We are seeing from Councillor Jackson especially, and the party opposite, a complete and utter lack of leadership. And if any other reason was to be shown about why they don't deserve to control our council anymore, tonight is the night. By rights, we should have had, if it weren't for COVID, an election in May, and you would not be sitting in control, I could guarantee you that. And if we were in control, we would have been taking the action that people need, rather than doing the Labour trick of flip-flopping on supporting our towns, our businesses and people's jobs. Longdon talks about, well, which shops will be open? Well, Councillor Longdon, which shops will actually stay open if we don't act? And what the Labour Party are forgetting tonight is that more money in shoppers' pockets means more money to spend in our markets and shops. What they're forgetting is that more money in traders and businessmen and shops' coffers is money to keep them trading and keep our residents in jobs and employed. They are a complete and utter embarrassment to our borough, Madam Mayor, and they don't deserve to be running our authority. Councillor Lloyd said there is no need for this meeting. There absolutely is. There is £380,000 worth of a need for a meeting, which would be a direct stimulus into our town centres, our market traders and our businesses that need the assistance. And as Councillor Golby highlighted, there are £66,000 drop, 66,000 people who travel by car. They also want help. And I'm not even going to dignify Councillor Phillips with a response from his chat. I know what happens when businesses go to the wall and when people can't afford to pay their bills. I see it in my job day in and day out, where businesses can't afford to pay and they default, and that causes further on problems down the chain. Our policy tonight could help that. And they talk about other areas to help. Yes, I do want to help other areas. As I said in my opening statement, this is phase 1 of a plan for COVID recovery for our businesses across Nuneaton and Bedworth. The Labour Party don't even have a phase 1. They don't have a plan. All they've got is something written on the back of a fag packet which will do absolutely nothing. They don't deserve to be running our council, and they don't deserve to be holding the levers of the money. They are holding on to the money which could be spent in actually helping our residents and our businesses tonight. It is an absolute shame that they are doing this. This should have gone through with near enough unanimous consent, and we wouldn't have been sat here until 10:30. Not that I mind being sat here till 10:30, because unlike the party opposite, I don't mind debate and discussion and sitting here doing my job. It's just a shame that the party opposite are completely abdicating responsibility to help our borough, and they are not doing their jobs. I call for a recorded vote, Madam Mayor, because the residents deserve to know what a shameful lot of people opposite are voting against a direct stimulus package to our economy, which could literally mean the difference between someone being in a job and someone being at the DWP on Monday morning. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you could please indicate for or against the amendment, please. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doughty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
For.
Councillor Golby.
Against.
Councillor Gran.
Against.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against.
Councillor Hancocks.
For.
Councillor Hocking. For. Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacore.
Against.
Councillor Llewellyn Nash.
Against.
Councillor Lloyd.
For.
Councillor Longdon.
For.
Councillor Pandare.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
For.
Councillor Pomfret.
For.
Councillor Rudkin.
For.
Councillor A. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Shepherd.
For.
Councillor T. Shepherd.
For.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Tandy. think you're muted, Madam Mayor. You may want to unmute to.
Sorry. 4. Sorry.
Councillor Tromans.
Against.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
And Councillor Wilson.
Against.
That's 17 all, Madam Mayor.
Vote is 17 for and 17 against. So again, as I am allowed to under the Local Government Act, I will use my casting vote for the amendment. The amendment now becomes the substantive motion. Do you wish to go to the vote on the substantive motion? In accordance, just a minute, I've got to get it. Oh, can you read it, please, Simone? I can't, I've lost it all again.
In accordance with the executive meeting protocol, can I request a recorded vote on the substantive motion? So when we move to the vote, Councillor Evans is requesting a recorded vote.
Right, okay. You're going to have to help me out. I've lost it altogether, I think, now. Okay. Right, okay, we're back. So I have at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4 speakers on the substantive motion. I would hope that the speakers have something new to add to the debate. So my first one is Councillor Golby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do have something new to the debate, or actually, should I say, it's clarifying points that were made incorrectly, which just shows the fact that people are not reading what we put in front of them. We've heard about budget cuts and etc., etc. We are actually asking for this funding to come out of a pot of money of approximately £2.5 million that has been given to the borough by the government. So it's not impactful on budgets. It's actually an entirely separate fund, and it's a substantial amount of money, and they've given it as a discretionary pot of money. We keep hearing about how it's unfair about the town centre getting money and the town centre businesses, yet you are predicating a lot of your publicity at the moment on how wonderful you all are for the town centre, and you're trying to lay claim to all the regeneration that's going on in the town centre, but you don't seem to give a stuff about other businesses when you're trying to do that. So I would expect then that you don't want the website to go live on the 4th of December to get people's opinions about the town centre, because that then puts a disadvantage to everybody else that's not in the quote unquote town centre. And if as councillors you don't know where the town centre starts and finishes, especially if it's in your ward, there are significant issues, and you really do need to go home and look at the map that's on the council website that tells you where you represent and where the town centre starts and where it finishes. Because honestly, it's just sad. It's sad that you're doing this. The funding that's available is actually available for all businesses, as you have actually pointed out yourselves, if the businesses apply. We're not asking for just business support. This is actually support for residents as well. As I pointed out, 66,000 cars are registered, and that was in 2018-2019. So that's 66,000 vehicles. That's support for those people too. That is an economic stimulus. That is a significant amount of people that are literally going to vote with their feet and go and pay for parking, or are they going to go for free parking 10 minutes down the road? Because they've got cars, they're going to get in them, they're going to drive. If they can go somewhere for free and spend a longer time at that place, then fine. You talk about it's us playing politics. No, actually, it's us that's coming up and doing the work. We've got a list here. It's all funded, it's all costed, and it's gone through the officers at the council who have verified that the costings are correct and sustainable. So please stop with this. We're trying to bankrupt the borough, because we're not. It's not actually borough money. So it's money that's given to us to pass on to businesses and to help stimulate the economy. That's what it is. I mean, really, honestly. And you keep talking about COVID and footfall in the town centre. Well, actually, if we give people free parking, they're more likely to not all rush and wait for parking at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock when the free parking kicks in. They'll meter it out during the day and elongate the business day. So where's the issue? And you talk about you're worried about COVID. Well, we've been a COVID hotspot for quite some time, and you just don't seem to be doing anything about it unless unless I'm missing something. But it's down to personal responsibility. You wear a mask, you wash your hands, you stay away from people as much as possible. But also you have to figure out that the economic damage of not doing something could actually lead to significant impacts on people's health as well, because you have the opportunity that the COVID rates are what they are, and we can all do something about that. However, you're talking about increasing rates of people going out of business. That's going to have an impact on people. We hear all the time about mental health. We hear all the time about, you're always on your soapbox telling us about how we only support rich people, when you are the ones giving a break to a business that's got a revenue of £811 million. And yet people on the market are desperate for help in the busiest time of the year. And let's face it, you've got form for pulling the rug out from underneath the market traders, because it wasn't that long ago you shut the market down on Christmas Eve, which is their busiest day of trading in the entire year. And you came up with some rubbish excuse about that then. It's so clear where your priorities lie. And it really isn't with residents of this town. I mean, literally, social media is lit up with this. Who's whispering? Social media is lit up with comments about how people cannot believe.
Could you wind up, please, Councillor Golby?
Yeah, well, you just take a moment and read some of the comments that are on social media now, not yesterday, now, about how you've I mean, funny. You're laughing.
No, I don't find it funny, Councillor Golby. I don't read social media, because I know what
you do. We all know you do.
Madam Mayor, can we move to the vote, please?
66,000 people with cars. You've just
asked you twice.
Under a bus.
I am not going to allow you to keep speaking. The bell has gone. Your 5 minutes were up about a minute ago.
Madam Mayor, can we move to the vote, please?
I have a proposal to move to the vote. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
Seconded, Councillor Longden.
I was going to say.
Thank you. Can we take a vote, a procedural vote on moving to the vote, please, Simone?
Okay, thank you. If you could please indicate for or against the procedural motion to move to the vote. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doughty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against. And could I request that my vote is recorded in the minutes?
Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
For.
Councillor Golby.
Against, and please record my vote in the minutes.
Councillor Gran.
Against.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against, and please record my vote in the minutes.
Councillor Hancox.
For.
Councillor Hocking.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacor.
Against.
Councillor Llewellyn Nash.
Against, and please record my vote. Thank you.
Councillor Lloyd.
4.
Councillor Longden.
4.
Councillor Pandare.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Pomfret.
4.
Councillor Rudkin.
4.
Councillor A. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor Shepherd. J. Shepherd, sorry.
4.
Councillor T. Shepherd. 4. Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Tandy.
4.
Councillor Tromans.
Against, and please record my vote.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against, and please record my vote.
Councillor Watkins.
4.
Councillor Wilson.
Against, and please record my vote.
That's 17 all, Madam Mayor.
Again, as I am able to, under the current Local Government Act, I will exercise my right, my casting vote, and it will be for the substantive motion.
To move to the vote.
To move to the vote, sorry.
Can I request a recorded vote, Madam Mayor, on the substantive motion?
Sorry, I've got something on chat.
Again, it's for a recorded vote, Madam Mayor. Councillor Evans is asking for a recorded vote.
Sorry. Okay, so can we move to the substantive motion, please?
Okay. If you could please indicate for or against the substantive motion, please. Councillor Beaumont.
4.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
4.
Councillor Doughty.
4.
Councillor Elliott.
4.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
4.
Councillor Golby.
Against.
Councillor Gran.
Against.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against.
Councillor Hancox.
4.
Councillor Hocking.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Jackson, so could you just repeat your vote, please?
Sorry, 4.
Councillor Condaclaw.
Against.
Councillor Llewellyn Nash.
Against.
Councillor Lloyd.
4.
Councillor Longden.
4.
Councillor Pandare.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Pomfret.
4.
Councillor Rudkin.
4.
Councillor A. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Shepherd.
4.
Councillor T. Shepherd.
4.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Tandy.
4.
Councillor Tromans.
Against.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against.
Councillor Watkins.
4.
And Councillor Wilson.
Against.
That's 17 all, Madam Mayor.
Vote again is 17 all. Also, I again will move a casting vote, which I'm allowed to do. So I will be voting for the substantive motion. So the motion, the substantive
Carried.
is carried. Yes. Right. That is the end of the special full council meeting. So may I wish you all a very good night.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good night.